I never used to tell people what I did if they asked me. I just said, you know, something. But when I started writing this book, I thought, well, I'll tell people I'm writing a book about mental illness. I heard some people couldn't stop talking. I heard the most terrible stories. Other people, they would just, you know, turn away. They couldn't deal with it. They couldn't talk about it.
But those who could, how did they?
It was horrendous, the stories I heard. Just horrendous. I mean, some mothers didn't make it, you know, just couldn't survive it. I mean, it's just terrible.
And they were able to open up to you with their stories because you were
because I said my book is about mental illness in my family, among the women in my family. And that was as if, oh my God, I can actually talk about it. I don't think the family never talked about being Carnegies, that it was not polite. You didn't do that. It was like mental illness in those days, you know, you just didn't talk about it. So it just seemed perfectly natural. I didn't know how anybody else lived. So, and then it certainly wasn't much help to me going to my room. I don't know whether Carnegies were around to help me out.
All those Scotsmen.
You know, where were they?
Well, indeed, where were they?
Where were they? Yeah. And you don't feel very rich when you're living in a room all by yourself most of the time and nobody's around to talk to. And so riches, I think the statement I said in the book is, I began to see people as neither rich nor poor, but either they were kind, or they were the unkind, or they were thoughtful, or they were careless. So I didn't see people, because I had no idea about money. I had my subway money to go to the school, because we had a secretary that came in every so often. But
why 3 islands?
Well, I think in the Vedic tradition, you are born and you are with a mother, and that's the first part of your life. And the Cumberland Island was run by a matriarch, very, very powerful matriarch, and my aunt was the next matriarch of Cumberland.
Now, who were these people?
That was Bertha Carnegie. She was married to Thomas Carnegie. And then my aunt married a Rockefeller, so she was a Nancy Carnegie Rockefeller. But they were very powerful women. So I think, and this was my mother's place, so I think of that island as being the feminine. And it crawling trees and snakes and quick death and moisture. And then the middle island, this island is according to the Vedic tradition, then you go from the mother to the family into work and to play. And that's what this island is, and it's sort of closer to civilization. And the third island is the island of the spiritual island. And there the light is crystal clear and the trees are straight and there's a chapel. So that's how I came to think of that, the 3 islands.
And the third island is not simply spiritual, it also, in fact, on the ground is the patriarchal.
And thank you very much, it is the patriarchal.
So say more of that.
Yes, well, I think the elders in the 3rd phase of their life go into the forest to study the spiritual life, to get ready for death. That's what they do, and it is very patriarchal. I mean, I think God and death and all those things are all male. I misused the word forgiving. I got into big trouble at the seminary with this because I said, I can't forgive anybody. What right do I have to forgive anybody? I mean, I can try to understand them, or I had another word, compassion, maybe, not forgive. I haven't the right to forgive anybody. I'm in business forgiving myself.
That's wonderful.
If I can do that. Which I think is part of the end of the book. I suppose I have begun to forgive or have some compassion for myself, finally. I had a hard time sometimes. I'm so glad I graduated because I would say things like, well, I think we need to have something other than the 10 Commandments now, because those are commandments from a man, and we have a hard time keeping one of them. Doesn't it say, thou shalt not kill? Maybe we need 10 female suggestions?
I love it.